let's see, our last talk will be presented by Yin-Chao Liu. And he will be talking about Foldit Drug Design Game Usability Study, a comparison of citizen and expert scientists.
Thank you, Aline, for the introduction. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. Hello, everyone. My name is Yin-Chao Liu. I'm from the University of Vanderbilt in the United States. And today I'm going to talk about a usability study and a comparison of citizen and expert scientists for a drug design game. So the specific game type we are going to talk about today is called a citizen science game, in which the general public is engaged in solving the scientific problem through game playing. So naturally, there are two groups of players, the citizen scientists, who are the general public, and the expert scientists, who have been formally trained. And today, we will focus on a sub-module of Foldit game, the drug design module. So here, the players will design a small molecule which can potentially become a new drug. And to understand this difference between two user groups, we hope to benefit the design of citizen science game and also to engage the public in science. Then we can have more outside the box approaches and the solutions from the public. And lastly, it can also increase resources through crowdsourcing. Now let's look at the problem, the small molecule drug design. So in this problem, the player is presented with a target protein, and they are going to design a small molecule that can fit and bind to the target protein. And again, the small molecule can potentially become a new drug. This is a very difficult problem because the search space is very large, and the possible drug-like structure is only a very, very small fraction of the search space. So it is almost impossible for the current computer to enumerate all possible structures. And that's why drug companies spend over 10 years to bring a new drug to the market. That's why citizen science games can help in this situation. And in MIG before, there were also similar research. In 2019, there was a mobile game for crowdsourced molecular docking. And also in 2014, there was also a crowdsourcing molecular docking using path planning and haptic devices. And now I'm going to show you the current interface of Foldit drug design module. As you can see in the middle, this is the small molecule that the player is going to design. On the left, this is the design palette. And on the very top, this is the score panel that shows the current score. And on the right here, this is the leaderboard. On the bottom left, this is the action panel that the players can choose actions from. And on the bottom right, this is the chat panel. Here, I'm going to show you a short video clip that demonstrates some player movements. So the player can left click to rotate, and also right click to move around the camera. The player can also select an atom and replace it with another one. Or the player can also add a fragment. The player can also select two atoms and replace the bond between them. And of course, the player can also delete an atom by selecting it and click on the delete icon. So for the current study, we are interested in two research questions. The first one is, what are the differences between citizen and expert scientists? The second one is, how does that guide a better game design? To answer these two questions, we're using a relaxed think aloud method. So basically, the player is expected to speak out whatever they are thinking while they are playing the game. It is called a relaxed method is because the experimenter also interact with the player while they are playing the game. The reason why we chose think aloud is because it is an easily learned method for the player. And also it's a robust method. It does not suffer much from the experimenter biases. And the reason why we chose a relaxed method is because the experimenter can ask more in-depth questions. And also he can offer some help under certain conditions. And lastly, the experimenter can also stop some unwanted moves. And for this study, we totally have 22 participants. 12 of them were citizen scientists, and 10 of them were expert scientists. And because this is an open-ended problem, there were no known solutions yet, and the score can go infinitely high. So we allow a task time of 30 minutes. And we record the gameplay along with the mouse clicks and the keystrokes. Then we annotate the videos, and then we analyze them. So among all the comments we received from the player, we filter out those filler words and the readings from the screens. This reduced our comments to around 800. And based on the comment contents, we then group them into 8 actionable categories. By actionable, we mean these categories can inspire some new game design. So let's look at these categories here. So the first category is called confusion. So this tells us we can have a more clear guidance to remove this confusion. The second category is the background knowledge, and we can provide this background knowledge. The third category is called one function, so we can provide these new functions. The fourth category shows the preference of a player, then we can tailor the game to these preferences. Then the next one is the hint, mainly given by the experimenter, so we can have those in-game hint. Then the next one is the bug. So for the bugs found in this study, we need to fix them. And then the next one is the inference. We can have more explicit information in the game. The last category is frustration. So we can have some in-game encouragement and also design a better workflow. Now let's look at the result of research quest one, differences between citizen and expert scientists. Again, citizen scientists are the general public and expert scientists are those who have been formally trained. So here we bin the comments by the category and the player type, and we apply a two-sample t-test. Here is the result. As you can see from this chart, we only see a significant difference in the background knowledge, and we don't see the significant mean difference in all other categories. So this tells us only the background knowledge that really makes these two groups different instead of things like the familiarity with the 3D manipulation. So by knowing this, then the next question we are asking how we can make a better design. So we subcategorize the initial 8 categories showing in the middle. And here, the area of the pie chart corresponds to the frequency of the common counts. We will take a closer look at the confusion category here. So here, as an example, confusion category can be subdivided into 3 categories: confusions on the information, confusion on how to do something, and a confusion on where to find a certain tool. And the information is then also further divided into those categories. And we will take a closer look at this atom identity here. And as you can see on the left, this is a small molecule under a score color scheme. So in this study, we found that most of the players have difficulties telling which atom is which one. This is very confusing. And even if we switch to a different color scheme, a ligand-specific color scheme, people still have confusion. Even though now they can clearly tell this yellow color here is the S atom, sulfur atom here. They may still mistook these blue atoms for this N nitrogen atoms here, but these are actually C atom, the carbon atoms here. So this demonstrates like a confusion point in the game. There are also some limitations for our study. So first of all, this is a qualitative method, and a categorization may be biased by the experimenter. And also, we have only a limited number of testing cases so far. And lastly, the frequency of the comments does not necessarily equal to the severity of the issues. So in conclusion, we found that the difference between the 2 player groups mainly lies in the background knowledge. And we also found that by providing those background knowledge expressed by the expert user can close the gap between these 2 user groups. And also we found that confusion is the most prominent problem. And interestingly, when we took a closer look at the confusion category, we also found there are some differences between these two groups. So the citizen scientists seem to be more confused about the chemical concepts, while both of the groups, they are confused about the interface. And lastly here, we also provide specific guidance on what to improve in the future iteration of the design. For the future directions, we are hoping to have a more quantitative analysis of the mouse clicks and the keystrokes. And also we are planning to have a study on a bigger scale with multiple experimenters involved. And lastly, we also wish to compare the current interface with the improved one. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention and thank our sponsor and Thomas Scott and Josh Miller for their help. And I'd like to take any of your questions.
Great, really, really great. Yeah, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. Does anyone have? Maybe while people are thinking, I have some.
Sure.
One thing I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about how you convert the comments to some sort of numerical value for the t-test.
Oh, okay, sure. So basically, we have the common counts from the player. Then we bin them by the category, so and also player type. So for example, confusion category, and for the citizen scientist, for example, we received the 10 common counts, and for the expert scientist, we received 12 common counts. Then we apply the t-test for these numeric numbers.
Gotcha. And out of curiosity, how long does coding all these comments take?
Well, for each video, it took about like 4 to 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big things out is a really time-consuming method.
Yes. And were there any things that came out of the analysis that surprised you that you wouldn't have even noticed without this study?
Maybe like background knowledge. Well, this is actually not that surprising, but I'm kind of surprising that I didn't see all the differences in other categories, because we would expect these two user groups, they are very different, right? Because one is formally trained. So we would say maybe like a expert scientist, they have seen more professional software. They may want more functions in the game, but actually we didn't see this difference in this study.
Great. Let's see. So let me just check. Any other questions?
I have a general question about the direction. So I've seen a couple of examples of this work that kind of trend toward this sort of crowdsourcing effect. I'm wondering if there's a whole class of problems out there, or there's just a few choice problems that people feel like they've been able to kind of shape. So is there a domain for this? Is this like a whole area that we should be paying attention to, putting more resources as researchers on?
Yeah, so crowdsourcing is a domain. So it is also called a game with a purpose. So there are many other games to solve the biological problems, like for example, Eterna. This is for the RNA, DNA problems. And also there's NanoCraft to design those like small devices using DNA sequences. So because like, by distributing those tasks, human can help, the general public can help with those scientific problems that the traditional computers cannot solve. So this is like a very helpful and open like a totally new venue for solving those scientific problems.
I appreciate it. I wonder if we could even make a focus on that for a MIG in the future year to help try to make sort of reflecting on yesterday's comment about making the world a better place and saying, well, through games, we can actually solve problems through crowdsourcing that we can't solve in science. And that's pretty cool. So I'm wondering if we can take that further.
Yeah, probably. Actually, I read on the book that the author even go as far to say that we should make everything a game to solve like problems. That probably like, yeah, that's the author's opinion, but I think that kind of emphasize on the importance of the gamification for the scientific problems.
Yeah, I think War Games and Ender's Game come to mind immediately, and I'm not sure we should really be making them all games, but
Yeah. And initially, actually, the citizen science game were not gamified, but the gamification also brought in some like new elements like communication, competition, joy. So more public can be involved, and also they can be educated during this process.
thank you.